welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back.
Alrighty. Yeah. Welcome back, everybody.
Indeed.
You're tuned into
MSR.
I'm Adam Butler. That's Paul Spann.
Black Man Span in the building.
Hey, Paul, how you feeling today, brother?
I'm coolin', brother. You know, I can't complain about nothing, man. I'm out here living life and feeling good.
Yeah, man, I can't complain either, man, because the crew is in the building. We got a whole crew today. The whole team is in force today.
Yes.
Let's start with Sleepy Christopher Hayes. Hey, Chris, how you doing, brother? Take your time.
Please
Doing
do.
good.
Uh-huh.
This nigga's ridiculous.
Glad I get to be here.
Yeah.
Got a jazz album coming out or
Wonderful
something?
people
Like,
that I'm working with.
Yeah, you
Hey, Paul.
with Kenny G.
yeah, so, yeah, you
It's good working with you.
look like your name is Thaddeus. Nargis
It's
is in the
great
building.
working with Adam, too.
Yeah, we done. Your intro's over. Nargis is in the building. Hi, Nargis.
I am. Hi, Adam.
Hey, how are you? Welcome back, Nargis.
Good. Welcome back.
Yeah, happy to have you back. Everything was smooth. Everything was,
Yeah, man. Black love. Hashtag.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Shout out to Nicole and Ari and their
Yeah.
nuptials
congratulations.
out in
Congratulations.
Chicago.
Yes.
Yeah.
Chicago? Damn, nice.
I'm never. Don't ask me to be in nobody's wedding.
You not gonna be
Yeah,
a
Wednesday
boss?
be a little bit stressful at times.
I mean, it'll be caveats on a case by case basis, but you know,
Right.
Yeah,
Well, you know,
Exception to every
you had a
rule.
lot of responsibility.
man, it's too much. Maybe it's just because of my own. Like, I just feel like weddings are really like superfluous.
What that mean?
Great.
Like it's just
great
extra.
word.
Like I just feel like it's unnecessary extra spending that could go towards
Right.
my honeymoon or to our house.
Yeah.
Versus me trying to entertain y'all for coming to see me get married. Like nah.
You know, that would be a great show topic. Like,
It would.
I would love to have, like, because
would.
that's an interesting thing about, like, how weddings work and what you should and shouldn't do and what people choose to and not to do. We had a funny question of the day. We won't get too far into it, but we were talking about, like, playing, like, certain songs at your wedding, because I'm definitely playing Meeting in My Bedroom in my wedding.
Right.
That's so corny.
Right.
Yeah, you can call me what you want, brother, but we playing that. And I've been playing that since I was 18 years old. Okay, so I don't care
Yes.
what she got, whoever this
She's
imaginary she is, I don't care
Yeah.
what she got to say about it. It's getting played.
On his side, it's
Yeah.
happening.
It's happening.
On the groom's side.
On the groom side.
Well, I guess, yeah.
We're going to sing it. My groomsmen, we're going to sing just like
Oh,
Silk.
man.
Step
Yes.
into me, cancer. Clarence, what's happening, bro? You in the
actually.
building? Yeah, we
That
should,
would
dog.
be great. That would be wonderful.
Yeah. You going to be in my wedding party, P.
I
You gonna,
mean,
are you down to
I'm
sing?
more than down to do
Okay.
that, dog.
Party
More
P.
than that.
Yeah. All right. Let's jump into the show. A lot to talk about today. We're going to start off with my man Clarence and his deep thoughts. What's on your mind, Clarence?
Well, today, not too deep, hey, but
Yeah. Hey, y'all, we haven't eaten, y'all. We're hungry. We're hungry.
Oh,
yeah.
man, what about them retrievers?
Oh, yes. Tell us
Who,
about it,
who
boy.
are they?
UMBC retrievers.
Ah.
University of Maryland, Baltimore County.
Did you go to University of Maryland, Baltimore County?
I did go to University of Maryland, Baltimore County.
Wow.
I did.
That's
I went
awesome.
there for 2 years before I transferred to Bowie before I graduated. It's an amazing school. It's a research school. Big STEM school. They're doing a lot of great things with research.
Awesome.
You know, the school was great, but it wasn't great for me because I was a non-traditional student. I worked full time, and you know, it just didn't work well with my schedule. There weren't many like online classes. It just, you know, it was
Right.
all over the place. Man, I remember sleeping in my car in the garage when I get off work in the morning, to wait for my 8 o'clock class. So I didn't want to go home, right. And like fall victim to the bed. So I would just sleep in my car. Like, you know what I mean? So like, you know, so seeing, you know, Dr. Habowski on TV last night and seeing these things, I was like, wow, like I remember I went there, right? It was
Right.
like
But what happened?
so yeah, they pulled off with the greatest upsets ever.
I was
And
just saying, man, you sitting there talking about your time at
I'm
UMBC.
just saying,
What you
man,
talking
like,
about what the amazing thing that happened last
cold
night. You know what I'm
he had in his
saying?
eyes.
Right, yo.
Yeah,
Yeah, hear
I'm-
about how
I'm-
you
I'm-
failed out of UMBC,
Hey,
boy. You know what I'm saying? Talk about the basketball game.
Personal
No, I'm just saying, like I'm just
Nah,
building up the,
I
you know what
woke
I
up
mean,
in a
anticipation.
stretch.
Right. You know what I'm saying?
Anyways, but yeah, so yeah, man, they pulled off and they beat number one ranked
Hey, go ahead, bro.
Trap in the closet. Yeah, so they beat Virginia number one seeded team.
Yeah.
In the tournament, and
number one seed.
Busted everyone's brackets. I know everybody's stuff is just to share.
Vegas is pissed.
Yeah.
You know, next year we should do a MSR bracket, like just for fun. I didn't do a bracket this year, and you're right, it destroyed brackets and
killed it.
And you know, we were talking about this before we went on air, that the beauty of, I think the NCAA tournament is probably the greatest event in sports besides, you know, the Super Bowl is like the biggest thing in sports, right? But I think the tournament is the best thing in sports right now. I think
competitive wise,
and just excitement like that. The first two games of the tournament are crazy. You get buzzer beaters. You get 60. You don't rare when you get a 16 seed beating a 1 seed, but you get, you know, people get upset, and it's the nature of that tournament because it's one and done. Anyone can go out, and there's just no other.
It's like battle royale.
Yeah, the only thing close to it, in my opinion, is the Super Bowl, because anyone can technically win the Super Bowl. Like, it doesn't matter who's favored in the Super Bowl. It's one game. It's one opportunity. You can lose that game. You know what I mean?
One thing I love about the tournament is, like, you get to see the energy of the teams, right? Because like you have to, it's back to back to back. Yeah, you know what I mean? It's you know, you get to really see people's work under pressure. You get to see their talent. You get to see, you know, what they're really made of. Because that's a lot to do within, like, what, 2 week, 3 week period.
2.5 weeks.
Yeah. Yes, Chris.
I like the tournament as well. It won because it's so unpredictable. I think that thing is crazy, and you get to see some people make a name for themselves. You get to see some people lose a name for themselves. It's like one of those big things where if you do good in this tournament, that can help you just get drafted, change your whole life. So it's a great thing to see. And I'll remember watching the Fab Five, how that thing went down. But, you know, it's a great thing to see.
You know, you make a good point about that, and we'll get to your second thought after this, Clarence, because it's when you talk about people making themselves in the tournament, and unless you had more on this, you talk about people making themselves in the tournament, a couple of names pop to my head immediately. I think about Kimball Walker. I think about what's the boy used to play for Maryland? I keep wanting to say
Juan Dixon.
Juan Dixon.
Oh yes.
But also think about Steph Curry.
Yeah,
Steph Curry is the one. When you think about it, Steph Curry went to Davidson. Nobody thinks about Davidson. Yeah, he's Dale Curry's son, but Dale Curry was not. Dale Curry was a beast NBA player. Don't get it twisted. But just because you're someone's son doesn't mean that you're going to be. You know, a superstar player. Let's look at Jordan's kids; they cannot play at all, right? But you know, he's this guy, and he has, you know, he has a good shot, and you can see it if you were paying attention to Davidson. But when he got on that stage, that's when you saw, oh my God, Steph Curry can shoot from anywhere on the floor, and that was an opportunity. That's how he got drafted. That's why he got drafted so high, and that's why they were even patient with him the first couple of years. You remember, Steph Curry was injury prone, and he wasn't that good his first couple of years, and all of a sudden, he's Steph Curry. You know what I mean? So, it's that tournament, man. I'm telling you, there's no other situation like that where amateur players, kids that, you know, come from nowhere, like Chris just said, and get an opportunity to shine in the national spotlight and could possibly change their lives.
Yeah, and the unpredictability of just having one game. I think the beauty of one and done is always what bodes so much excitement.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like in a series. I mean, series are fun, and you know, and the greater out of a 7 is going to win. But one and done, at any given time, anybody could be out of there. Yeah, it's crazy. And big shout out, per the original point, to UMBC.
Yeah, definitely. Just two quick more points with this.
Shout out to Clarence.
Right, shout out to B. Nice.
Yeah.
The whole thing.
Yes. Yeah. No. So I mean, you know, just like the hometown, like that's a big thing for hometown, right? It's a very small school. So shout out to, you know, the Baltimore city, the Baltimore County area. But two, man, like the UMBC Athletics Twitter page, whoever's running that, they're doing a fantastic job. Yeah. Like a fantastic job. Like they tweeted, put some respect on it. We have defeated number 1 overall seed at Virginia by 20 points. And then apparently the website has crashed. So they said, come on, guys, you crashed our dang website. Our IT people want to watch the games too. Please form an orderly line.
Nice. Shout out to them kids, man. Shout out to the kids from UMBC, man. Great work, man. And your lives will change forever. I mean, that doesn't mean all of them are going to the NBA, but it just means that you won't be able to buy a drink again in Baltimore at all. My man Clarence got you on
all the chicken boxes.
All the Tito's and chicken boxes you need, baby. He got you. He got you. What else, Clarence?
Nah, man, I just want to point out some albums, some hip hop albums that may need to be on people's radar.
Yeah.
That's come out within the past maybe 3 months. We got Fonte, of course. No News is Good
Talking
News.
about that, yes.
Prime just dropped yesterday. Prime 2, right? So you got DJ Premier and Royce the 5'9". Jericho Jackson, Elzai and Crisis, right? That's coming out. The Ninth Wonder, Rhapsody, Rock Nation, right?
Okay.
Logic with Bobby Tarantino too. Logic is he's a beast. He's a beast. You got Murs, A Strange Journey into the Unimaginable. Murs is a very interesting artist, so you know, that may be for a certain palette.
Yeah,
you know, right?
Yeah.
Of course, Nipsey Hussle, Victory Lap. Tory Lanez, Memories Don't Lie. Surprising. It took me listening to an interview on the Breakfast Club for me to really like appreciate him as a artist, right? Because he's singing and rapping. He kind of gets grouped into that whole like new age. We don't really know what you do, but he's like, yo, I just make great art. And once I kind of step back and I kind of listen to his music, I'm like, he makes talented. He's talented. He writes for a lot of people. And of course, you got Kaz with Affected. He's on the Dreamville camp with J. Cole. So yeah, definitely check out those albums.
Nice. And we're gonna talk about that Wale after the read a book thing too, because
that was on there. But
yeah. I realized I did our segments backwards. That's my fault. Yeah. So, but yeah, we're gonna talk about that Wale after the read a book segment. Thank you, Clarence. That's what's on Clarence's mind. Clarence be thinking hard, so he always got some stuff on his mind. You know what I'm saying? Always got something on his mind, man. Last week I held down read a book. It was okay, but we got the champ back in the building, so things are back to normal. Things are regular. Things are okay again. So we're gonna do it how we always do it. Paul, are you ready?
It's
time for read a book.
Read a book. Read a book. Read a book. Read a book. Read a book.
Hey, what's up, Nargis? You got for
shout
us?
outs to Bomani. All right, so Chris be throwing me off.
yeah,
So I was thinking in honor of Women's History Month. I wanted to shout out. It's this book called Evolution of a Revolutionary, and it's written by Jasmine Guy, aka Whitley from Different World, and it's about Afeni Shakur. Also, to everyone else who knows, Tupac's mom. And this book, I just love it because she was so much more than his mom. And I guess because I wasn't really a Tupac fan per se, like, you know, I'm younger, like I have an appreciation for him, but I'm not just spitting Pac out here, right? So I was always drawn to just what type of foundation would a person like a Tupac have? And she does not disappoint at all. So the way the book is actually written is through the lens of Jasmine Guy. She talks about how she even earned Afeni's trust in the first place from when Tupac first got locked up, and he requested that Jasmine Guy come and visit him. So that's how she kind of got her foot in from when they worked on A Different World and all that. And then she developed her own relationship with Afeni after Tupac passed away. In addition to that, she developed a relationship with Tupac's sister also. So she shares her own sorrow, her own shock, but she also reports what Afeni tells her. So going through addiction, going through losing custody of her children, going through polygamous situations, going through incarceration relationships. Like, she just has a very interesting story, and you kind of see how it informs the type of individual that Tupac turned into. Both of her children did, and like she admits the mistakes that she made. She admits her shortcomings, all of that. Like, it's a very honest, vulnerable dialogue between two women, as reported by a friend. You know what I mean? So I thoroughly encourage anybody to go out and check it out. Again, not just to support Jasmine Guy, but also to support and learn something about an ancestor now, Miss Afeni Shakur.
You know what? As you talk about, and I was familiar with this book, and I forgot about it, and it makes me even more angry about that Tupac movie, right? Because one of the battles that the producer from that film had with John Singleton is that John wanted to get more into Afeni's life, And there were scenes in the movie that had to do with some of the stuff you brought up. That's clear. And see, the reason why I'm saying I'm upset because dude made it sound like Afeni never want anybody to know any of these things. But it's in the book. Yeah. The polygamy and relationships with, other people and things like that and how she was. So John wanted to tell the story a certain way, but his boys got involved because Pac's not here. He's not here anymore. You know what I'm saying? Basically what happened with that Tupac movie is Tupac's boys basically got their hands on him. It was like, nah, y'all not going to do my man like that, which I understand. I understand. There's some things that you feel like you don't want people to know about your friend and his moms. But if his mom's already put it out there, and we have to understand that Tupac ain't just your man's no more. Yeah, Tupac is a legendary figure, and their stories. He's an icon, and and if you're going to make a story about Tupac, and I don't mean to make this all about Pac, because this book is clearly about Afeni. Then we need to be able to hear the entire story, because what ends up happening is you get that silly Hallmark dumb. Made for TV movie that they made with a dubbed over Snoop voice in it. By the way, stupid, just terrible movie.
You get Lifetime Presents.
You get Lifetime Presents when you had a better script sitting out there and you spent all your time cracking on dude and making fun of dude for his script. Like sometimes you gotta throw the hood rules away.
And what's interesting was an open book.
Go for it.
In the book, the funny thing is a lot of the dialogue that's captured is between Jasmine and Afeni trying to write a script. Like Jasmine is like, "Yo, your life needs to be a movie," and Afeni's like she was like her son. Like she had good days and bad days. Like some days where she's like, "No, that's stupid. I don't want nobody in my business," and then other days where it's like, "Well, what do you have so far? Well, what would you suggest? Well, how would you want it to be told this way, or how would you want it to be told that way?" So their conversation actually started out where Jasmine is like, "Your life needs to be a movie," and it ended up just transforming into a book.
That needs to happen.
So,
that needs to happen.
Read a book. So it can be a movie.
The last, for real, because the last thing I'll say about it is that it's the reason why they haven't been able to make a good Beatles movie. It's the reason why they haven't been able to make a good John Lennon movie. Like these legendary figures, right? Like an Elvis. I'm not saying I'm an Elvis fan, but like these larger than life figures. I imagine they'll run into the same problem with like a Prince movie or a Michael Jackson movie, right? These people that their lives were so colorful, right? Is that sometimes you have to just take a specific part of their life and tell that story. So with the Johnny Cash story, they just kind of told one section of his life. You know what I mean? Right. So I think with Tupac, because there was so much going on, that you really could make an Afeni movie, and it could be a good Tupac and Afeni movie. You understand what I'm saying? Right. And by the way, she's an
Shakur movie.
It could be a Shakur movie, or like she said, she's an ancestor. She actually deserves the respect to have her story told on film. Just her story. People will, it's not going to be, it's not going to do Black Panther numbers, but people will go see it and enjoy it. And it could be a great story. So, I really hope this happens, man. And I really hope they give Jasmine Guy the credit that she deserves for putting this out there, too. Thank you, Nargis. What's up, Chris? Go for it.
I hope someone like Netflix tries to capture in on something like this. I think they do a real good job with, documentaries and stories. I think they would be pretty good. Like, if we're not going to do a whole film. We're gonna focus in on a small section right here, and we'll focus in on that. Kind of like what they did with Selma. Selma was a great movie because it just focused in on this one time.
Yeah, that's my point.
It's not impossible to do a life movie. I mean, they did Malcolm X. They did, but it is very hard.
It's difficult
to try to focus in what you're going to put in, what you're going to put out, because you're always going to have to leave out something important, and people are always arguing about that.
Right.
So,
no, you're making a great point. I mean, just to stick this just for a hot second, because that's a really interesting point about Selma's. That's the best one, because they have not made a Martin Luther King movie where you go from birth and what was he like as a kid to the day he dies. It's just too much. It's just his life was too full. Malcolm X. That's 2 movies. Like when you buy the DVD of that, when that thing came in 2 different DVDs, that movie was incredibly long, and it's just an outlier. It just doesn't happen. So I think that with Tupac, if they give this another crack, they could probably tell them. I would watch a movie about the Tupac Death Row years. Like that's probably more interesting than the movie they tried to make. And just to the Afeni thing, Netflix is a great point, because I think the viewer goes into it differently when you sitting at home and watching something and you just sort of ingesting it that way. You can still put it out in the movie theater for like a week to get that Oscar.
Right.
You know, you want to get that Oscars consideration. But what's the name of the movie with Mary J. where she just got nominated? I forget the name of it. Mudbound. Same thing. That's a Netflix
movie.
joint. You know, it came out in the theater for like 2 weeks so they could get the Oscar consideration. But I feel like when I
watched it on Netflix.
Right. When I watched it on Netflix, I was able to just sit and really consume the film and really pay attention to it. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, man, that's a good point about that one, man. All right, read a book.
Read a
Book.
Champ Slim.
Shout out Buno.
Shout outs to Buno.
Always shout out Buno, man.
So Clarence mentioned some albums that came out this week or in the recently that were dope, and I noticed you had no you didn't have no little trap stars on your joint, man. No littles were on yours. A lot of littles dropped some albums this week.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I wanted those specific albums to be on people's radars because they weren't big like promoted.
You don't like Yachty. You don't like Yachty. Lil Boat got an album, man. You gonna talk about Lil Boat?
I haven't heard it.
Yeah. I haven't even.
Does he have an album?
Exactly.
He does.
No,
Okay.
but
Yeah.
you know, we talked about this Fonte album last week, and again, an adult album
For good reason.
for good reason. And it has these adult themes. One artist that always kind of toyed around with this and got dropped from his label recently, the hometown guy Wale, and I think Wale will do better as an independent artist.
Whoa, he got dropped from.
I don't know if he got dropped from Maybach, but he got dropped
Not from Maybach.
his-
From what was it?
I think it was
Atlantic, right?
Atlantic. Yeah, it was Atlantic. I think he
Yeah,
got
he
dropped
saw
from
that? Oh.
Universal or Atlantic. One of them. You can Google it if you want. You can look it up just so we can be sure. But he did get dropped from his major label.
Yeah.
I think he's still with
He's still
Ross
part of
and them.
Maybach.
Yeah, but either way, that's not the point. Is that I think he will fare better as an indie artist, right? Because the moment he got dropped, he dropped this little EP, which is some of the best work I've heard from Wale.
What
And-
we needed.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's good.
What
yeah,
we needed to cancel out Shine.
for real. No,
Wow.
but that's real. No, because again,
I say that with every piece of DC attitude possible.
Man.
Like, we needed to cancel out
yeah,
Shine.
because
This was
when
great.
Wale and I don't know if he listens to MSR, but he does. Hope you don't take no offense to this, but like when you're in positions when you have to make commercial hits, you don't do well. That's not your lane. When people fell in love with you initially, and what got you the national notoriety was your mixtape about nothing. You know, the things that
your
and-
poetic rap.
right? When you on your poetry shit. You know what I'm saying?
And I was going to say what you said because in truth, he's a spoken word artist that raps. You know what I'm saying? And that works for him. You know what I'm saying? Because he's always been an artist that has substance to what he's saying. But like I think, almost what you said. When you try to do the commercial things, doesn't always come off the same way. Like these 4 songs,
Right.
yeah,
Right. And the thing I really wanted to talk
missed
about
you.
for real. Yeah.
We missed you.
Yeah,
Where you
yeah.
been, man?
Welcome
Yeah.
back.
And the thing I wanted to talk about these 4 songs is that I love the theme of this album, and this EP, I should say, it's not an album, it's an EP, is that it's about vulnerability, and it's about relationships, but what I really get the theme of it is about vulnerability. Now, we're not going to do a lyric breakdown like we did last week with Fonte, but I just wanted to kind of talk about Wale, this album, the vulnerability piece, and how that's entering into hip-hop now, how that's a thing in hip-hop, to talk about vulnerability. And
Yeah.
we've been talking about for just a couple of weeks about how, artists, we should expect that artists are grown now. We should expect adult content from certain artists, and then here you have it. Here you have this project. You have this. Sorry, I had some feedback in my microphone. You had this project where there's vulnerability throughout the whole joint. You know what I'm saying, P?
and a lot of truth in certain elements of explanation also. You know what I'm saying? Like sometimes it's hard to grasp like certain things, even from a male's perspective in relationship and different things that we go through. Because I think that the first song, what's it called? It's Complicated.
Yeah.
And that was called.
Yeah.
It break down some things that we discussed pre having the show about different traumas and different things that people suffer in relationship, different things
Right.
that make you different. You know what I'm saying? For things, and I think sometimes men gloss over that in regard of how certain elements of things that happen in a relationship garner the way we act. You know what I'm saying? So like bringing these things to a forefront. I think we've been on on an art kick lately. Just always pointing out the importance of art in all things. We've been worrying about the film and worrying about different music that's been coming out, like how that Fonte album could coincide with health, and so how these things that Wale is bringing up, it's important. And once again, like, big up to art, man.
I think the biggest thing for me is like my conflict with Wale, right? Is like, you're scared of, or I won't say scared because I ain't trying to have him tweet at me.
Right.
You know, I'm not on Twitter.
Use your words properly.
He'll find a way.
Use your words properly.
I think the thing is, like, stop straying away from what makes you great. You know what I mean? Like, don't worry about comparing yourself to other people. Like, you're dope in this space, which is why we love you in the first place, as a home team.
Yes.
The problem is that he's such a typical emotional DMV area guy. He kind of he cuts off his nose to spite his face sometimes, just to be to prove a point. But really, you're kind of hurting yourself because you're hindering what your natural God-given is that all of your fans see, which is why we bang with you in the first place. And you're going to that emotional place that all of us have, or all of us feel, or all of us are thinking, like, that song bad? What?
Yeah.
I heard it on the radio the other day. I was like, I forgot I like this song. You know what I mean? And that's real. And you don't hear other rappers dwell in that lane effectively.
But I think
they might try every now and then, but like that's his bread and butter. So like, come on.
But I think that might be the gift and the curse of it. The fact that he can express such vulnerabilities and do these things, which is why he's just so all the way around emotional. So I guess sometimes it's like the good Wale and the bad emotional part of it. But I think I think and understand where I'm going with this comparison. It's in comparison to like a person like DMX, to the fact that they're so true to that sometimes it takes on a good shape and sometimes it takes on a bad shape.
Wale's bad shape isn't crack though.
I don't see.
Again,
and that's
we don't want you tweeting at us.
No. And I understand that's what I was saying. I mean, the heart of it, where it can be bad.
I mean, I
they're
think
two totally different people.
I mean, I think it may be, when he first came out, and we having like a two-pronged conversation, which is perfectly fine, because we talk about his career, and then there's also the content of this album, which plays together, so it's perfectly fine where we're going. I just wanted for the audience to know, like, we're having a two-pronged conversation, because to that point, the point that you all are making, I mean, it's a reason why I'm not saying he's Kanye, I'm not saying he's Kanye at all, but there was a reason why when he first came out, he was compared to Kanye, because it was like that emotional thing. Now, Kanye's plight is a little different than Wale's, right? But there's that that devil on an angel on his shoulder type of thing. Like when he's vulnerable and he's in his lane. Talking about Kanye, he's brilliant. When he's trying to prove himself to people, he's not. Right. You know what I'm saying? And that's when you get Yeezus and all this craziness that he does. You know what I'm saying? Showing up at Trump Tower being weird. You know what I'm saying? I'm not now. Wale is not as big of a star as Kanye West, so the spotlight is not on him. But I do sense that same kind of like battle within both of them. Then to the context of the music, and Clarence, I'll come to you after this one, because I this line, and we're not going to break down all the lyrics. This line did stand out, and I did ask a question on Facebook about this. Shouts to everybody that commented. But I was saying that there was a line that he said, and on the first track he said, "I got someone who loves me so effortless, but I'm so messed up from another chick that I feel like such a bitch ass nigga that my exes get the power with no effort to decline the next shorty." And that one to me, that hit home, because that's the vulnerability piece. That's that I've been hurt from another relationship, that this one person is making choices for me and I don't even realize it. That's the Wale I like. That's the artist I like. I like hearing that and being like, yo, that's something I need to think about, because you end up, people call it blocking a blessing, right, Clarence? Like, you block your blessing, but really it's just that you may not be messing up the next relationship. I kind of hate when people say that, because if you're not ready for a relationship, you just aren't ready for a relationship. But you also could be hurting someone. Is that hurt people thing, right? Because you've been so hurt and you haven't dealt with your own shit. Like, that's why I even like the word bitch ass nigga, the term bitch ass nigga in that case, that you end up hurting someone else with your own, without dealing with your own shit. You know what I'm saying?
I think it's real. I think that men, we definitely feel these things. I think it's just some people are able to actually just verbalize it, right? I mean, I think sometimes we verbalize it in other ways, whether it be drinking or aggression or other ways. The content for me was like, I was wondering if he was talking about hip hop or if he was talking about like an actual woman, right? Because like I feel like his relationship with the music industry is complicated.
Yeah.
Right. And maybe it may be that I'm reading too deep into this, right? But I think that's the beautiful thing about art. Sometimes it can go in it can apply
how you want to take it.
But the vulnerability piece is interesting because we do tend to we talk about Erykah Badu Bag Lady, right? We us as men, we do definitely tend to take on like baggage, and we carry that joint, and we don't talk about it enough to even want to unload it. Right? I feel like for the longest time that's been a conversation been specifically geared around women. But yeah, like you feel like a bitch ass nigga. Like I'm over here messing something up and I don't know how to not mess it up, but I ain't messing it up because I got deal with this, but I don't really want to talk to you about it. And it's like it's weird, it's complicated. Let me just deal with my shit on my own.
Yeah, bro. First of all, because you just kind of opened, and I want to get to the Bruno thing soon, so we won't take too much time. But you just opened up a whole nother area, an angle that I didn't even think about, like, because that album could very well be about hip hop. Because think about what's been going on with Wale recently, right? Starting with the J. Cole thing. When J. Cole said, "I got a friend," I wish that song was on the album. But he was saying like, "Yo, I got this dude, and he whines all the time, but he's dope, and he doesn't realize it because he's basically trying to be." I'm paraphrasing. Yeah, he's trying to be Kendrick, and then you go to the Everyday Struggle interview, which I'm not sure if any of y'all saw that, but when Wale, flipped out on Academics, and Academics' point was that like, yo, you should have been, and I'm not saying I agree with Academics, but it kind of shows you, but it shows you the pressure that Wale puts on himself because of guys like Academics. When Academics was like, you were supposed to be Cole and Kendrick and Drake. You came out with them and you aren't them and you fell off and this, that, and another. But then you look at an artist like Crit who did come out, because that's a whole class of artists that came out at the same time. Cole, Kendrick, Drake, Crit. These guys all came out at the same time.
I feel like Big Sean was in that group.
Big Sean was definitely in that group.
Kid Cudi, all them niggas.
Cudi. No, you're right. No, but these artists that were like the new wave of artists, right? The artists that were inspired by like the Kanyes and the Lupes of the world, right? This new crop, the 2010 guys, right? And some of them did exactly what they were supposed to do. Kendrick is a superstar. Drake is a superstar. J. Cole is a superstar, right? But then you do have a Crit who is not a superstar, but Crit doesn't care about being a superstar. He'll go to the Fillmore and tear it up. He'll tear it up at the Fillmore and do a smaller show and do a mixtape and do these things. You know what I'm saying?
But he was. I mean, I think he expressed some of his frustration on the last album, right?
He did.
And so I do see a comparison, for example, with a Crit and like a Wale. Like we have two extremely talented people for many different reasons, right? And one, Wale just tends to show outward-wise, right? Like on Twitter, or like run up on or calling Complex
tripping,
tripping, or like calling 92Q, right? When he was like wild out on
or 93.9,
or the Toronto Raptors game,
just his fans in general,
or the wrestling match, right? Like it's just like, and I feel like people's like, oh, here go Crybaby Wale, and then like he feels it, and then he'll like leave from social media, then come back. But Crit just happened to, he was drinking more. He said he was partying, but there was some things he was doing for inside. He had some other battles, internalized more, right? But then he spoke about it because he was frustrated. And I think that's completely valid. I just think it's how they kind of showed it.
But, and that's why I think your point. I think you might be right about what the theme of this album is. I mean, we talked about Atlanta a few weeks ago, and we said that they don't make any mistakes on Atlanta, like in terms of writing. We can read deeper. I will give Wale the respect as an artist to say you can read deeper with his lyrics. Like that's one thing he gets upset about. When he was on Everyday Struggle, he was saying like, y'all listening to my songs and you don't even know what this. I think the song was called oh my God! It's named. No, it's named after. Oh my God! What's the name of it? I'll get it because I don't want to spend time stuttering on the microphone. But there's a song where it was like the song was literally about cocaine.
Oh yeah, CC White.
CC White. Cocaine White.
White.
Yeah, but
he wasn't talking about the woman.
But I think I'm mixing up another song too. But either way, my point is that he has the ability to go deeper with his lyrics, and it's not always what's on the surface. You know what I mean? So I didn't even think about that. I'm sitting there thinking the song is about a girl.
Right.
You know what the EP is about a girl, but it could literally be about, look, I just got dropped from my label, people making fun of me, I had a hard year. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I'm gonna make a short EP about my relationship with her. The game. Go for it, Nargis.
I was just saying, he said it's a love story. Like, it's about a love story. He didn't personalize it and say this is about stuff that I've been going through in my own relationships. He just said it's a love story.
Yeah.
So it very well could be a love story of his relationship with hip-hop, with the industry, with his fellow rap friends. Like, it could definitely be that way, because Wale is talented enough to have double entendres, quadruple entendres in his songs if he so chooses to. So it definitely could be, and I would want to give him credit to say that it is, as opposed to saying otherwise.
And I'm interested to find out. I mean, you know, because it makes me think about Holy Grail, not the album Holy Grail, but the song Holy Grail, literally the song Holy Grail, when Jay was like, no, that's about me and my relationship with fame. Like, but he makes it sound like he's talking about a person, but he's talking about, like, you know, my relationship with fame and how, like, it's the Holy Grail. However, I hate it. You know what I'm saying? I hate this person that I can't, you know, raise my daughter properly. I can't do these things properly because I've got this thing I've yearned for, the Holy Grail, this fame. I wanted to be this guy, but I also hate being this guy. So I like when artists do that. You know what?
Definitely.
I mean, look, if the EP is just about a girl that he dated, that would be just dope enough for me, because I like, again, lines like that. I like that we could talk about these things, and even, you know, not just black men being vulnerable, because sometimes I think we can be polarizing in that way. We can say, oh, black women do this and black men do that, but I think, you know, it reminds me of the point you made at the Wakanda talk, where no, the men need to see these women too, right? Like the men. So I think that we all need to be a bit more vulnerable. I think black women could be. I know it feels like vulnerable with yourselves is one thing. Vulnerable with your girls is one thing. Vulnerable with your boys is one thing. But vulnerable on wax like that in an open space. Just like Fonte was vulnerable in an open space talking about health and all the other subjects you talked about in that.
Relationship stuff,
Yeah, you know, that's how we learn. That's how, and not just learn, but you hear things that you go through and you're like, wow, I'm not alone. I thought I was alone. I thought I was the only person that thought like that. I thought I was the only person that had an ex that was controlling my relationships, 3 relationships down the road, because I haven't gotten over what she did. You posted an article earlier that said you could have PTSD from being in an emotional. Yeah. And that's real.
Yeah. It is.
That's real.
Yeah. So I mean, in all, man, like we said before. First off, shout out to you, Wale, man.
Yeah.
Keep doing stuff that's close to your heart, bro. You know what I'm saying? And big up to you, man. We definitely love and appreciate you. But once again, man, and I got you, Chris. Just the power of art in and of itself to even have us have 3 different conversations on this one EP, and even have little epiphanies that actually contribute to life. You know what I'm saying? So when I listen to people talk about the way people are paid and talk about this, that, and the third, and you know, what's worth it and what's not worth it, we still just always have to give, like, everything coincides. Our life coincides with our art coincides with our life, which is why when we hear something that does strike home, it's noteworthy and we talk about it. My bad, Chris.
Go for it, Chris.
No, I just want to say I think he's one of those very good artists who maybe feels a little bit underrepresented, but I think he's doing really great. And I just want to say, next time, you know, you get a chance to go to Wakanda, let a brother know, okay? You know, I want to go to Wakanda too.
Yeah.
They don't mind DMV people, obviously.
Yeah, apparently they do that. They don't mind beating your feet either. Apparently, because Wale, for the people that don't know, Wale was definitely
he had a cameo in Black Panther. Yeah, shout out to the DMV,
which is really cool, man. Yeah, shout out to the DMV, man.
Random as shit, but it's dope.
Yeah, it was so random. And
I should have had him some Sabiata
in Wakanda
and a hobo bandana.
He should have had some technologically advanced Sabiata on too, like
made out of vibranium.
Vibranium.
DJ Rico popping out of somewhere.
Shout out to Rico, man. Yeah, man, it's been a theme on MSR. We've been talking about art a lot. Paul pointed that out. You know what I mean? That art has really been striking us and striking our conversation lately. And we believe that you should be able to do what you want with your art. And if you've heard our Wakanda Talk episode, shouts to Gage from Loading Stacks, when we were talking about culture and building our culture, he made a point that when he said, culture is to be shared. Now, we had a discussion about that. Clarence made some really good points in rebuttal to that. Well, yeah, we have to be protective of our culture and the capitalism piece. And I believe I said something to the effect of yeah, but you have to remember where the culture originated so it doesn't become stolen. That way you can't steal culture, right? Like today, it's, when we're recording this show, people are going to be celebrating St. Patrick's Day. There's no mistake where that comes from. Even though you're going to have black people running around with green dressed up like leprechauns, we all know where that culture came from. It has to be the same for us. Right. So that transitions us into our next conversation, which has been a big conversation going on the internet, which has to do with Mr. Bruno Mars.
Yeah.
Okay, so Bruno Mars, let me just put out there. I love Bruno Mars. I'm a huge Bruno Mars fan. I'm corny like that. Like I really
Ditto.
I enjoy Bruno Mars music
since day one.
Yeah, since he was remaking
girls.
Okay. Since he was remaking
B.O.B.,
Sting joints. Okay, that's how I love Bruno Mars. I don't think he should have won Grammy for Album of the Year, but I understand why he won Grammy for Album of the Year. I just don't think, I think either Jay or Kendrick should have got that one, but whatever. I'm a huge fan of Bruno Mars. But what's been popping up on Bruno is the same thing that's happened to Justin Timberlake recently, is that he's been accused of cultural appropriation and basically stealing black culture and capitalizing off of black culture. I want to go around the room. We're going to talk about this for the remainder of the show because I don't agree with that. I don't think that Bruno Mars is guilty of cultural appropriation, but what I want to do, we can talk about whether we think he is or isn't. We'll go around and just get that answer. But what I want to do at some point is take it deeper and talk about, well, what is cultural appropriation? Like, how do you commit that crime? Like, where is it? Because it seems to be a very blurry line about who can and can't commit that crime. It seems like once we stop rocking with you, then you're a cultural. We loved Justin Timberlake a few years ago, but then we just decided not to like him anymore for whatever reasons, right? And
his titty.
I think it was after that. Because when that band was touring with Jay-Z, everybody loved Justin Timberlake.
It's because he has a country album now.
Yeah, so now he's culturally appropriate. That's what I'm saying.
Now it's like, oh, you're doing a Miley Cyrus and you're abandoning us and going back to your redneck roots, which isn't really. Because
it's not really a country album. But Miley Cyrus is a good point. So, P, I'll start with you because I know you want to jump in there. But what do you think? Just a two-pronged question. Do you think Bruno Mars is an appropriator, a colonizer? And also, what is that?
I'll start with this. I'll start with the definition of cultural appropriation.
Paul always got the dictionary.com, boy, I swear.
It's just so we can get some points.
No, I'm with you.
Often framed as cultural misappropriation is a concept in sociology dealing with the adaptation of elements of a minority culture by members of the dominant culture.
White folk.
It is distinguished from equal culture exchange due to the presence of colonial elements of imbalance in power. So, for me, so I think people don't know the exact definition because the cultural appropriation is for people of a majority, the people that are winning to take things from a smaller minority is what I got from that. Is that what you guys get from that, or am I?
By that definition, that's what it sounds like.
Yeah. So,
but I don't know if that's a real definition.
It's.
Like, I mean, I'm not gonna say I don't know if it's a real. No. That's what I'm saying. Let me clarify. I don't know if it's a real definition, but I don't know if it can be that narrow.
Okay, so
but go ahead,
can he? Well, say your piece because I want to hear what Clarence has to say soon. So good.
So is Bruno Mars a cultural appropriator? So if we get into the specifics of whether he's black, whether he's not black, firstly, I don't think so. I think that he makes music. Now, let me backtrack real quick. So the young lady who first started this, what is her name?
That's who started it. Michelle Deocello started it, but it was a writer. There was a protester and a writer who really sounded the horn about it.
Yeah. And per some of the points that she was making in her article about things being taken and people using it, I can understand where she's coming from. I can even understand in the throes of the fact that she's a 29-year-old, a 30-year-old, where certain elements of the mindset comes from. I don't know if it has to be directed directly at Bruno Mars. I understand it. I don't exactly agree with it.
All right, Clarence, I want to hear your thoughts, man.
I feel like we really talk about cultural appropriation when we start talking about like adding money into it, when there's a money or like a capitalism element. I mean, for example, there's been a lot of people who have argued that Pharrell has been culturally appropriating. Specifically, he just did something with Adidas. Apparently, there's like a Hindu or Indian
for one of his human races.
Oh, one of the human races joints.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so like it's like it's a theme that's supposed to be with clothes of a celebration that day is I believe it's Indian or Hindu, one of the two. Right?
I know.
But basically, people have like pushing back, like, yo, how are you just going to use our culture and our celebrations, just anything from that, to be able to work with Adidas to now appropriate and get money from, right? Like, so people are pushing back that way, and Pharrell is black, right? He's not of the dominant culture. I mean, although he is very mainstream, he still has a lot of hip hop, roots, and he is still part of the hip hop community. So I think anybody can be charged with it, but to give its legitimacy, I think that's where the conversation needs to come in.
And I think that may be, and I understand what you're saying, and I understand it all the way across the board. But I think even the people's view, it's kind of a skewed outlook, because I think we, like, sometimes we paint everything with a broad stroke. But like, let's say I'm doing this for one because I honestly, maybe I went to India and you understand what I'm saying?
Right.
And maybe because of who I am, it brings a broader scope on all the things that you already are. You understand what I'm saying? So I think it's the eye of the beholder and the way something is presented. But I think sometimes we jump on everything as cultural appropriation without even knowing the fine-tuned elements of what's happening.
No, I agree with that. I mean, for example, if I was to ever move to DC and I wanted to open up a store of any sort, right? Whether it be food or whatever, I'm going to have homegrown district people supporting that, so I wouldn't feel like, what I'm saying, like, I would want to make sure I'm contributing back too. And sometimes I wonder if people aren't, if people don't think about those elements of it, right? Like, there's a bigger picture to just that individual and what they want to contribute back sometimes. But yeah, go ahead.
Well, because so to bring it back to Bruno Mars and whether he's colonizer, whatever you want to call it, corporate, whatever. I think that here's a guy who goes out of his way to tell you how he's inspired. And when he won his Grammy, he got up there, he shouted out Teddy Riley. He told a whole story. He told a whole story about how Teddy Riley and all these people inspired him and how this is dedicated to them. So it's sort of like it's like, in these times, we hurl these accusations at people. It's like these bombs that you could throw at people that just shuts everything down. And I think we don't give much thought to it. We don't give much thought about it. So I think it's almost like crying wolf when you throw, because they are cultural appropriate. Like Nargis brought up Miley Cyrus. That is a perfect example of it. It's not that she was doing music with Juicy J and all them. That was the problem. It was how fake it and disingenuous it was. So when she decided not to do it, she was able to make a complete 180 and go back to being regular Miley Cyrus.
She took her costume off.
Right. And she took her costume off. Right. So like, I think
you're not twerking no more.
Right. Because it's not, I don't have to anymore. It's not cool. It's not the thing. When I was falling off and I needed to be a little edgy, then I'm going to do that, and I'm going to work with these little goofy rap dudes who are just going to allow me to do this, and then when I don't need them no more, I don't need them anymore.
Well, see, I think I was going to address the Bruno Mars piece. I was just, I guess, addressing the actual cultural.
Yeah, the answer about go for it.
But I don't believe that Bruno Mars is appropriating any culture. I think he has a true understanding and study of this music form, right? I mean, like, it takes a lot. Like, you can't just go get, I'm going to go get some random person, put him in the studio for engineering, and be like, I'm going to record this. And this. I mean, sonically, it was a great album because I think there was a lot of passion put into it.
Can I ask a very simple question? P, you can answer.
No, go ahead.
Since when a Puerto Rican... I mean, it's a Puerto Rican... I mean, he's 25%. I mean, I literally have this racial breakdown here, which is kind of incredible to me, but he's 25% Puerto Rican, 25% Jewish because his dad is Jewish, and then 50% Filipino. I'm not going to try to, but, since when? Go for it.
One thing about it is, simplistically, like what you had already said, even in the breakdown of all his Grammy wins, the literal story that he told, I am where I'm from, he's like, I watched this music, I watched this bridge people from everywhere. He literally said this.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? Like that's what I mean by that fine-tuned tooth comb thing when we investigate things, instead of just, like you said, hurling accusations on a person who's 25% Puerto Rican, and like it's just
I love
it's
it.
like it gets to like
stats.
what Adam is saying. Because
Yeah.
sometimes it gets to a point of not ridiculousness, because people have valid points.
It
Cultural
can-
appropriation
ridiculous.
is a thing.
It's
But
ridiculous.
sometimes, like with the way that we go about things, it gets to a point where
ridiculous.
it definitely sullies down the argument when certain
Hold on.
things are
Yeah.
actually true.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? This is kind of ridiculous.
Okay, Nargis, then Chris.
Just because you're born a race does not give you a birthright to a culture.
Right.
So there are plenty of black people walking around who don't know who Teddy Riley,
Sure.
Jimmy
Right.
Jam,
Right.
Cross Cultures, 100% black people. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Who have no idea what that is.
New Jack Swing music.
Eminem had a whole situation of, he's trying to be this, he's trying to be that, but because he respects hip hop and he honors who his influences were, that's how he's been able to kind of overcome that, right? Anytime you're winning, haters just magnify by
Right.
a million, right?
Right.
Bruno Mars, he's fine-tuned his sound, but he's always been this way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's always had
He's a
kind of like
novelty act.
Yeah.
basically,
Yeah, he is.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Basically, he found his niche
Yeah.
as the new Frankie Lyman / Morris Day,
All
and
of that.
it works. But
It-
but the thing
all
is,
of that
and
is
it works,
true.
and it works for
Yeah.
him because there was no one else who was picking up that hat to bringing that sound
Right.
along with you. You know what I mean? If someone popped up with 2 high top fades and they started sounding like Kid and Play, they're gonna be like, man, it's like Kid and Play. But as long as they acknowledge, like,
Yeah, but
yes,
that's what
we
we're
took
doing.
inspiration from
Right.
Kid and Play,
Right.
and
Right.
this is how we're trying to modernize it
Right.
now. That's the end of it. You can't like you're saying, we're using the term cultural appropriation, culture vulture, and all that other stuff. We're kind of slandering that around without having a full context of what that word means.
Yes.
Right.
Because I wouldn't say, like when you were like the whole minority majority thing, I mean, Bruno Mars is the majority if we're talking about finance, like class-wise, you are
Right.
winning.
Yeah.
Because you're a multimillionaire, so you know what I mean. You do have.
Go to points
I'm
of
just
her
saying
argument.
I'm just saying that could be a point of argument
No,
if
I'm
you want to
saying
take it from
the
that
girl's
cultural
argument was part
appropriation.
of that.
Yeah,
So
if you want
what
to
you
take it from the
said.
cultural
Yeah.
appropriation
So it's something to
lens,
think about.
but this situation is not that.
That.
It's not that.
Go for it, Chris.
It's not that.
When I see stuff like this, it makes me sad.
Be quick.
Because it's like, oh my God, not again. We do this to ourselves on so many things where it's like we try to overprotect on so many things. And it gets, and the funniest
Makes
one
you
I,
look whack.
it does. And the funniest thing, like overprotection, like I'll bring up the funniest one that I talked about before when they were doing video games for Resident Evil. This game is with zombies, people become zombies, attack everyone, you got to kill them. The game's been in every country. It's been in South American countries, China, all that. It goes to Africa, so of course the black people become zombies and you kill some, and black people complained. And it was like, well, what would have been their win situation had they not had black people in Africa? Then they would have been complaining, why weren't there any black people in Africa? It was like this still. It's like here we are again. We're overprotecting on something, and now we're even to the point where it's actually hurting people who are actually more beneficial with us, like someone like Bruno Mars, than others. And I think it's sad. It's sad. Like, why are we doing this?
I think
Why?
that
And I blame Hotep people. Hotep people,
Hotep.
you gonna get I want to say new Hotep. New Hotep people. You trying to be wokish, and they do it just like they're overreaching on certain things.
But you know what, that because you actually, I was gonna say something similar, surprisingly.
Were you?
Yeah.
gonna say Hotep?
But I was going to say Hotep for sure, and I was like, but no, the issue is that I don't want to just hurl it at Hotep, because I think that's also a cop out too. All these Hoteps, right? I think that what's happening is that black people were actively building a culture, and that there have been people that always had an idea, like if you don't, we this era we live in reminds me of the Black Love. Not that I lived through the Black Love era, I wasn't born in the 70s, but what I feel like the 70s were when people, black and proud, wearing your afro out, wearing your traditionally African garb in public and trying to be forceful about it, but that was more of we're going to emulate African culture as opposed to building an African American culture, right? So I think what's happening right now when you have hip hop and all these things around, we're saying, this is what it's like to be authentic and be black. And that has been spit on and disrespected over the years. We got colleges and educational institutions that's telling people they can't have locks in their hair. We're still having basic conversations about how we can wear our hair and how we can talk. And just like we said at the Wakanda joint, I work with white people in a dress down situation, and they can be authentically white, whatever specific brand of white they want to be. But black is somehow a problem. So I can see why we'd be overprotective about people that want to just step inside of that, right? And I can see how you might get hurt, how someone may catch an accidental haymaker like a Bruno Mars who was like, hold on, what? You know what I mean? Like, I'm not sure if you're real or not. You know what I mean? I can see that. You know what I mean? I can see, especially the way Bruno Mars started by being, he is a novelty act, and that's why I think people really have to understand. He says it. Like, I'm a cover group. Me and my boys are a cover group. When we first started, we were covering the Sting and Police. That's why our stuff kind of sound like that kind of like white reggae shit. Like, oh, yeah, all that shit, right? Then he moved into, once he hooked up with my man, I forgot my boy, the Brit dude that used to work with Wale, and he started doing the Morris Day type of thing. He got that from him. You know what I'm saying? And then he decided what I felt like this album was a homage to R&B. You had a basically an R&B like track from every era of R&B. You had James Brown sound and funk R&B. You had 80s. It just so happens that the biggest hit recently off of this album happens to be the kind of New Jack Swing kind of song. Right. But he has 90s sounding R&B. Versace on the Floor sounds like some Boyz II Men type shit. It's just a homage to this music that he loves. Right. You know what I'm saying? So I think that. Thank you, Mark Ronson. Thank you for that. You know what I mean? So I think that. I understand. I don't want to just say, it's just hoteps being hoteps, because that makes us that disrespects the people that may just need to learn from this type of thing. We do need to protect our culture. That's why we kind of had that conversation with Gage when he said that, like, culture is to be shared, but we have to be careful with that because our culture has been stolen from us, as Clarence pointed out, for money. Yeah. Since the beginning, we could look at almost anything cool in America came from us. And it gets snatched from us. We're watching our hip hop. We got a little white boy named Lil Xan telling me that Tupac was boring.
Yeah,
you see what I'm saying?
And then taken to whereas we don't benefit from it.
Well, that's not what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. So, like, I don't want to just say, these stupid hoteps, they need to chill out. I think that it's a conversation that needs to be had. The problem is that if someone disagrees with you, you have to be able to take that, listen to their points, because I think we can agree that Bruno Mars is not the person we need to be attacking. Yeah. Bruno Mars, Justin Timberlake. I know we was mad about Justin Timberlake performing the Prince song because 10, 15 years ago, him and Prince had a little war of words. Okay. I can assume that maybe Prince dying, maybe Justin Timberlake was like, wow, I actually respect Prince. Like, whatever. Right. But I think that when you have artists who openly respect the culture that they're borrowing from, when Justin Timberlake tells you, like, no, man, Michael Jackson was my idol coming up. Prince was my idol coming up. I respect Jay-Z. I'm going to work with Timberland and Pharrell and all these people. Then I can't get mad at that person. You know what I mean? But I will get mad at a Miley Cyrus. I will get mad at what's the chick T I had? Iggy. I will get mad at them because they are leeching off of our culture. Different. So the girls, the ladies that brought this up have a point. Yes, but it's just they're using the wrong person. In my humble opinion, they're using the victim. The victim is the wrong victim. It's not Bruno Mars. Yeah, because the young lady that brought this up, I mean, he has quite a few very astute points on what she's talking about. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, I think it's just directed in the wrong vein in this regard, and it also, just like I said, it just allows us to have a larger conversation on honing in on certain elements of our argument. Yeah, like honing in on it, whereas it's the most beneficial, and to whereas it helps the most, right? Because even when you take a person, like I said, that shows respect and allowed to bring your culture
other places that maybe you, as a direct result, wouldn't even be able to take it to where someone else can learn from. So that's what I'm saying. I think we need to take nuance in certain things. We can't always just be quick to jump onto something just because we heard a little bit of information that sounds factually true, but then it's like, hold on, we can still step back and take an element and also, I got you, and also to where it is that whereas we're formulating messages that don't weaken our resolve.
Go ahead, Chris, and we wrap it up.
I think all right. I guess the only thing I have is I think when we call out people like him, even though it's not him, that's how we kind of get other people to actually who are able to steal from us. I'm like, if I kept calling like, hey. If I call Adam, hey, Adam's a wolf, he's coming to take our stuff, and then he's like, all right, he's not a wolf. And then I call, hey, Paul's coming to take, he's a wolf, take him. No, it's not. I call it on this person, Nargis. They could actually be doing it, but I've called it on so many people so many other times, they're like, man, they're not going to believe it or not going to take it seriously early enough.
You know what? You just did a very interesting and incredible thing. You actually explained crying wolf as if no one had ever heard the term crying wolf. It was incredible. It's not even like bad. It's just like I haven't heard the term broke down in a long time. So I appreciate you explaining the concept of crying wolf. In case someone had never heard the term or read the book or anything. Anyway, yeah, don't cry wolf is basically what you're saying.
Adam,
Then he took the glasses off.
Glad to do that for you.
You so smart.
Man.
You so smart, Chris. No, I agree. I think we on the same page with this one, man. That but again,
I think we're gonna see a lot more of this though,
because
I think now
watch your back, Miguel.
No, I think actually he'll fly under the radar with that. Miguel will. I mean, he's been in the game way too long. He's been at the high.
And let's be real. Black folks have always had a love brother-like relationship with people of like Hispanic and you know what I mean. Like we kind of
especially like in inner cities. I mean,
remember when J-Lo got caught up? I'm not J-Lo. Was it J-Lo or Fat Joe said nigga in the joint?
No, J-Lo.
J-Lo said it. Yeah.
She was like, I tell them niggas mind they business, but they don't hear me though.
Yeah, and it was a whole conversation.
Just 'cause you from the Bronx.
Yeah, but I was watching Joe, probably Ja Rule or Joe. I was watching Fat Joe. He has a little podcast or whatever, and he was interviewing Bone, which is whatever. But he was, the word nigga came out of his mouth like water. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I even thought for a second, like, damn. But then I can't. I'm just going to be a hypocrite when it comes to our Latino brothers and sisters, Puerto Ricans. I kind of, and then we're even finding out. Listen, because the word nigga is a tricky one anyway, right? So I don't want to, it's not just that. But we're even finding out as we're discovering more about our culture and black culture that they black and not in black too, like that Afro Latina thing. So it's not that I'm not trying to give anyone an excuse to use the word nigga. I'm just saying like that's how tricky these things become when we start talking about cultural appropriation. I stepped all over your point, bro. You were making a point. I'm sorry.
No, I was gonna say we're gonna see a lot more of this because I think in the age of Wakanda. Right, we're now starting to be more inclusive. So I think we're going to become a lot more protective over art and ourselves and our pain, and find a way to capitalize off of what we organically have and we have been doing. I mean, what was that movie? I mean, not the movie, the commercial with the rats driving the cube. It was like gerbils. Or guinea pigs, and they were like breakdancing. I'm like, we sell our genius sells everything across the globe, and I think that we're just going to start seeing pushback on a lot more of that in general. What was it? The Tanning of America? And that was Steve Stout's theory.
Yep.
You know what
I mean, we're building the culture. We're building the culture, and we have been for a while. It didn't just start with. I get your point, but it's been a while, and so with that, we're just trying to check some folks as we go along.
Right. We check the right.
We
folks.
check it, but check the right folks.
Reason.
Yes.
Check the right folks. All right. We
proper reason.
You didn't? Did you want to?
Well, no. I was just gonna touch on the Wakanda thing that he said. Like when it was all the Black Panther and all this other stuff, and everybody was starting to come out, and it was like, are we appropriating our own culture by throwing on these dashikis that's made in China and, wrapping our hair up, and we've never done it like a day before. So it's all of a sudden we have all this African pride over this mythical place that doesn't really exist. Like, instead of us concerning ourselves with a Bruno Mars, like we kind of need to bring that scope down a little bit and just see how we manifest that ourselves. Like the wedding that I was talking about that I attended last week, I even felt a little apprehensive because while I love my homegirl dearly, there were a lot of cultural elements that I didn't feel we were necessarily directly tied to. Or like, okay, for example, she had cotton in her floral arrangements on the tables. And there weren't just black guests at that wedding. And it made me feel a little away about it. Not necessarily just appropriation per se, but it was just like we got cotton on the tables and we got African dancers over here, and then we jump in the broom, and then you walking down the aisle with your head wrap on. And it's like, are we just wearing the costume? Or are we showing, do we actually, I know my homegirl does, but are we actively fact checking ourselves to make sure that we actually have an understanding of what it is that we're putting on display as a representation of ourselves? Or are we just putting a costume on every day because this is what we think that culture is supposed to look like?
Last point, P, and then we're gonna wrap up.
I'll just say this per the point of showing pride and wrapping up and even wearing a dashiki from wherever you bought it from, right? To me, elements of pride, and maybe you don't know, and something showed you pride. Maybe you can be more learned in the situation, but for me, and I'm only speaking for myself, and I could be 100% wrong. I like for a bunch of people. I was having this conversation with a few of my friends about the Black Panther movie, and they were saying some stuff about my man was like, all these people is doing all this crazy stuff, and it's just a movie. It's just this, that, and the third. Sometimes I talk about whatever brings a person to a place. I'm never mad at it. Now, like I said, can we get better at things and learn more? Yes, but like if you're black and you get a newfound pride for Africa and want to learn more about Africa, to me that's a win. You know what I'm saying? Maybe
that's what I'm saying. Are you putting on that dashiki? Are you following up and going to research about Africa, or are you just putting on the dashiki because you feel that is the costume for what's happening around you to fit into that space that you're in? Right. That's what I'm saying. I'm just putting it on, but there's no substance underneath of it to where you can speak to it.
Well, I think
that's my
right. I think the reason why that may be a little muddy is because it's attached to pain, because there's something of like I wish I knew more about, or I have a yearning for that, but maybe I may not know how to go about it, or maybe I don't feel comfortable doing this in my everyday life, right? Whereas though people feel like they wouldn't be able to wear a dashiki out at work when someone may wear, something that may be custom to their culture because they feel maybe insecure about not knowing enough about it. Like there's still like an attachment to it. But we're still trying to find the identity. So I definitely get what you're saying. But I think it's a larger identity issue in how we yearn to feel and view ourselves, but we don't know how to go about it because there's a conflict still there. You know
and as a Black American, and we have to also consider that everyone doesn't view the world from the same scope that we view it from. Nargis, like you're a thought, like you've been taught certain things, so you think deeply. Right, so when we did the Wakanda talk, you weren't here. There was a young lady that talked about how important certain elements of representation and all those things are for people that, like she was talking about where she was from in Chicago. And you were here. Hey, what am I talking? Hold on, were you here for the Wakanda talk?
Yeah, she was here.
Yeah, you were here. Yeah. No. I'm sorry. I'm thinking about the anniversary.
Boy, need some
part.
Omega
That's
fish
what I'm
oil.
thinking about.
Right.
That's what I'm talking about. No. My bad. But I think like sometimes like we can I understand exactly what you're saying, and I think that point bodes water. But I think sometimes that, getting some form of awakening for me is better than no form of awakening at all, and we can always fine tune it. I don't know if we can put the burden of that complex of a thought process on everyone.
Yeah,
I can.
I love it. Yo, I hear what everyone is saying, right? And I do think that there's we do have to be patient with people, right? Like, because again, we're learning. I keep stressing we're learning our culture, and I think that we may have even had it wrong in the 70s because it just was like, act like Africans. I'm not trying to demean those people, and I'm sure there's people that thought way deeper than that. You know what I'm saying? I actually met a former Black Panther, shout out to Miss Vera, who used to live across the street from me, and she was hipping me to all sorts of stuff. Brought me to this little like drum circle the day before the Million Man March reunion. Like, so she was. They not just simple like that, but I do think a lot of it was just like dashikis and afros because that's African culture. I think what's happening now is a little different where people are trying to be authentically African American, and that's a mixture of African culture with regular just black shit, right? So I think that and we haven't quite figured that out yet. Like, we don't. But what I am seeing is, even when I watch like CNN for Bakari Sellers, who I know, right, and the people, the black folks that they bring on CNN, right, and Angela Rye, people like that. And it can seem like a clown show because they're on there and Angela Rye's doing all this and Bakari's talking and using certain slang that we use out, amongst family. You know what I mean? And they're doing that. And then Don Lemon to kind of be like, but they're doing, at first I thought it was like, that's some cool in there, But no, really, they're just doing that because it's like, there's this thing about being authentically black, and I kind of compare it to the Jewish community. Like when I watch, Curb Your Enthusiasm or Seinfeld, like that's authentic Jewish, culture. You know what I mean? That is American Jewish culture. It's not like they over in Israel. It's American Jewish culture. So I think we're trying to find that, and with that, I think that's where the patience piece comes from. But I also agree with Nargis in the piece that like, all right, Black Panther you can kind of excuse because a lot of that was really cosplay, right? But you don't want to disrespect something, right? So I don't, I make that joke about me and Paul actually kind of joke about my ancestry, and I'm like, I'm from Ghana/Congo. Like, I don't know what just because that thing says I'm 25% this doesn't mean I know the culture of the people from that specific country in Africa. I don't know, like you wouldn't say I'm just DC. You don't know what it's like to be from Southeast DC, Northeast DC. You know what I'm saying? So I think that we should get to the point where we're learning, once we advance and we're like, okay, we're comfortable being black and we're comfortable, like I am authentically black. Now I could go to that next level and start learning certain things. And when we start doing stuff that is traditionally black, like jumping a broom or having these things at our wedding, almost said funeral, at our wedding, right? I know. At our wedding or our celebrations, we're more equipped to explain them to people that may not understand them and may take them the wrong way. Whatever. You know what I'm saying?
So it seemed like novelty.
Right. So I can see exactly what you're saying about that novelty and that disrespect piece. You know what I'm saying? That if you aren't careful while trying to become authentically black and trying to embrace this, you could come off as kind of disingenuous and disrespectful. Yeah. But I also think that I really believe that the Black Love movement died off in the 80s and early 90s. And then it kind of got segmented into this is hip hop and this is what black people act like. If you're black, you act like rappers. And then we've come to a place now where it's like, all right, we take a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and this is what it means to be a black person in this country and be unapologetically black. And we're at the beginning stages of that. Like we're still defining that. So but I think what she says means something like we have to be checked along the way. We have to be checked along the way, or you're just going to be pretending and dressing up like an African. Dressing up like a Jamaican, dressing up like someone from the Caribbean,
like your starter kit,
your starter kit, exactly.
I agree with that totally. All
right, nice work. All right, I'm gonna take a pause for my own editing purposes, and then I'm gonna do a proper outro that's gonna go before I'm saying this for myself. That's gonna go before all of this conversation. All right, so that was a great conversation, y'all. Real good work. Absolutely, man. We're going to have some information about some things this week, I promise. This week, we're going to have some information and some big news for you guys this week. And we'll probably have information about our next live show, too, coming up soon. So keep it locked on all our social at MSR Tribe on everything. And until next week, ladies and gentlemen, be great.
Elevate us.
We're up out of here.
Yeah.